Welcome to Redtastic. Story 1. I, 29 female, have a daughter, Debbie, 13 female. Unfortunately, when Debbie was 3, her father passed away. 6 years later, I was fortunate enough to find love again and eventually remarried Hillary, 38 male, who is a marine engineer. Together, Hillary and I are blessed with 2 adorable twin girls, Liliana and Lila, 4 female. One of the things I love most about Hillary is how he has consistently treated Debbie as if she were his own child. I've never had any reason to worry that she might feel excluded or not fully a part of our family. One day, Hillary asked me if I was okay with his mother, Wilma, 59 female, staying with us. He explained that she had a falling out with his older brother's wife, my sister-in-law, and had to move out. I was naturally curious about the details of the argument, but Hillary playfully stated that it was none of our business. Initially, the idea of Wilma living with us didn't sit well with me. I didn't understand why she insisted on living with her sons until Hillary told me about her terrible spending habits that left her with no savings and no house. Apparently, she viewed her children as a retirement plan. After some back and forth, I gave in. With our big house and Hillary often away for work, it made sense to have her around for the kids, especially as I was starting a small business soon. When Wilma finally moved in, Hillary was already on a work trip for 7 weeks. Wilma was so excited to be with the kids, and I felt bad for not letting her come sooner. However, I soon noticed that she seemed to focus more on the twins, sidelining Debbie, who was visibly seeking attention. An example of this was in the way she addressed them. She consistently referred to the twins as her grandbabies, but referred to Debbie simply as child. Initially, I brushed it off, thinking it might be one of those peculiar old people things, or perhaps because Debbie was significantly older than the twins. But after a few days, it became clear that this behavior wasn't normal, especially as I noticed the subtle disgust on Wilma's face whenever she was around Debbie, despite her attempts to conceal it. My concerns deepened as Wilma started to buy clothes and toys exclusively for the twins, completely overlooking Debbie. Each time I raised the issue, questioning the preferential treatment, Wilma would casually laugh it off. She claimed she couldn't find anything suitable for Debbie in the teen section and insisted that special kids like her deserved special treatment, whatever that meant. I found her response dismissive, but I hesitated to press the issue further, not wanting to come across as entitled. As time passed, I observed Debbie withdrawing into herself. It reached a point where I felt compelled to get her gifts just to ensure she didn't feel left out. She kept saying that Wilma didn't like her, and although I knew there was some truth in it, I convinced her otherwise. One day during the twins' playtime, Liliana had a little accident and bruised her leg. Surprisingly, Wilma shifted the blame to Debbie, who was upstairs doing her homework at the time. It became a recurring pattern, and I found myself constantly having to intervene and defend Debbie in these situations. It frustrated me that my daughter had to be on edge in her own home. I wanted to tell Hillary everything that was going on, but I decided against it, as I didn't want to bother him while he was working. A little while later, Debbie was rushed to the hospital. It turned out she had experienced a severe allergic reaction, and the doctor confirmed it was due to peanuts. I was surprised because we hadn't eaten out or ordered anything that week, especially anything with peanuts. Even though Hillary loved peanuts, he banned them in our home the minute I told him about Debbie's allergy, and the twins had never even had peanuts because of that. I calmly asked Debbie why she wasn't careful when she was stable, and she told me that Wilma made her eat it. Apparently, Wilma wanted the twins to try out a peanut butter sandwich she used to make for Hillary when he was younger. When Debbie told her about her allergy, Wilma dismissed it as a lie to seek attention and forced her to eat it just to prove she wasn't trying to be special. I was dumbfounded. I went straight to Wilma and asked her why she brought peanut butter into the house after I specifically told her it was not allowed due to Debbie's allergy. But Wilma's response just set me off. According to her, The twins should not be denied such a delicacy because of someone's issues. And besides, Debbie looked like she wanted a bite. I screamed at Wilma, trying to make her understand how she put her granddaughter in danger. But instead of a heartfelt apology, she shot back at me, saying that I was overreacting, and even emphasized that Debbie wasn't technically her granddaughter. It hit hard when she seemed to suggest that Debbie would be better off dead, as she was ruining a perfect family. To top it off, she told me to be grateful that her son had the money to cover the hospital bills for a kid who wasn't even blood related to him. Before Wilma could utter another word, I told her to pack her stuff and leave my house. Wilma was in disbelief, thinking I was just bluffing, until I headed into her room and started taking out all her belongings. She tried to threaten me, saying she would tell Hillary and I'd regret it, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I grabbed my phone, dialed Hillary's number, and handed it to her. I had already briefed Hillary on everything, and to my surprise, he was even more furious than I was. He insisted that his mother needed to leave his house as well. I made sure Wilma left with all her belongings, including the clothes and toys she had bought for the twins. I just couldn't stand anything associated with that woman being near my kids. Now, Wilma has been pleading and begging, insisting that what she said about Debbie was just a joke and she would be a better grandmother to her. She claimed to have nowhere to go and not enough money for even a month's stay in an Airbnb. She was sobbing profusely about how she couldn't live with herself knowing her two sons were mad at her. I understand the bond between a mother and a child and how much Wilma loves her family. Even though she resented Debbie, she was a wonderful grandmother to the twins. Now, because of me, Hillary doesn't even want to hear his mother's name. I'm torn between forgiving Wilma and starting over with her in our lives and choosing the well-being of my family, especially Debbie, who has suffered a lot because of Wilma. Update. It has been 6 days. Hillary practically left the decision-making to me, stating that he would never let his mother step foot into his house if it were up to him. Today, Wilma called again, like she has done every single day since I kicked her out. I stood my ground and told her I wasn't ready to let her anywhere near my house, and asked her to stop calling us if she didn't want me to take legal action. I wasn't surprised when she bit back, saying she hoped Debbie would swallow a jar of peanut butter and die. I felt justified in my decision, and without any remorse, I promptly blocked her number and reported the audio to the court, seeking a restraining order. The well-being of my family, particularly Debbie, remains my top priority, and I won't let anything compromise their safety. Firstly, I would like to applaud your husband. He's such a good husband and father. I wish all men were like him. Then I would like to commend you two for being patient with your mother-in-law even when she didn't deserve it, and for being a good mother and looking out for your children. Your mother-in-law wanted to create a terrible dynamic between your kids, and she also wanted Debbie traumatized. Someone like that shouldn't be near your kids, and I'm happy you decided to throw her out. Cut all contact with her and never let her near your children ever again. Story 2. I, 29 female, married my husband, 43 male, Rob, in 2018. My now husband and I had already been together for 4 years and wanted a very small function. My parents-in-laws, Rob's sister Leah, to keep it private. Rob and Leah have always been very close to one another. She does, however, have issues. She has difficulty allowing periods of focus on others and has been babied by the family for her entire life. They walk on eggshells around her to avoid meltdowns, which are screaming, crying until she gets what she wants. However, we felt that she would be able to manage for 1 week for the wedding, as she was working hard to manage her issues. 2 weeks before the wedding, I was finalizing plans, talking to Leah. She mentioned her new boyfriend, dating for 2 months, how excited he was to meet the family. I was surprised Rob hadn't said anything to me about this since we wanted to keep the event small. Turns out, I hadn't heard anything about it from Rob because Leah hadn't asked. That upset me as it felt very inconsiderate of her, but Rob felt it was best to just drop it, since the wedding would still be very small. Leah had a few snits in the days leading up to the wedding, nothing major. The wedding day went off without a hitch. That evening, however, we were playing dominoes. Leah began complaining that we were picking on her, singling her out. We were surprised as everyone had been poked fun at gently during the course of the game. Boyfriend tried to talk with her because he felt like she was overreacting. Leah ended up leaving the house in an angry huff. The next day, Leah asked me how long Rob and I had been together before we decided to get married. I told her that I wasn't sure, but it had been around 4-ish years. For some reason, she wouldn't let alone about the exact amount of time, then continued to ask several more times. Upset that I wouldn't tell her. My mother said that she'd been given an answer and maybe it was time to stop. Leah became very shrill, which is difficult for me since I have ASD plus have auditory sensory issues. Rob warned her that if she kept asking, it wouldn't end well. I eventually snapped when she asked again. And I said, I already told you as close as I know, so just effing drop it. Leah immediately starts crying and yelling at me. She got even more upset when Rob told her that she'd been warned and couldn't be mad when it ended exactly that way. Leah then fled the scene. Most of us followed after her. Rob went to talk with her. He's usually good about calming her down during tantrums, but this time no dice. She said I was horrible, being mean to her for no reason, and that Rob had ruined everything because he wouldn't defend Leah against my rudeness. She said that it was unacceptable that he'd take my side against hers since she's his sister. She said we are both a-holes, drove away and hasn't spoken to us since. I thought for a long time I hadn't done anything wrong, but now I'm not so sure. Am I the a-hole? You're not the a-hole, OP, and you did nothing wrong. Leah got what was coming to her. She annoyed you to the point where you snapped at her and now her little feelings are hurt. She needs professional help if she doesn't realize what she's doing is wrong, and it's going to drive everyone away from her sooner or later. Your husband and his parents need to stop indulging her terrible behavior. Maybe then she'll change. Now for some comments. You didn't do anything wrong, but what a-holes are, mother and father are for babying her whole life. Everyone's tiptoeing around her just enables her to keep acting like a 5-year-old. She needs professional help, and she needs it quickly. Not the a-hole. You did absolutely nothing wrong. She is desperately trying to make herself the victim to force your significant other and everyone else to take her side and drive wedges in your relationship with him and your other in-laws. She did not get the outcome she desired, so she is giving everyone the silent treatment. Do not console her or follow her during these outbursts. That is exactly what she wants everyone to do. The family has enabled her for far too long. Not the a-hole. Does Leah have a mental development delay or some other mental impairment? If not, people need to quit indulging these hysterics from her. First off, by not running after her when she pulls that crap. They should just ignore her and go about their business. It's so sad when parents indulge this kind of behavior in their children to such an extent that as adults they are completely unhinged and can't cope with life. She had never learned to act like an adult because no one has ever expected her to act like an adult. Story 3. My son has had really bad grades this school year. He's 12 years old and recently has been playing Fortnite more than I usually allow him to play. After seeing his final grades this year, I have decided to delete his account. He cried so much after. I felt so bad after I realized there's no way of going back. He screamed that he has spent 2.5 years on that account. He told me that he had rare skins on there. He doesn't want to eat his dinner and he doesn't want to talk to me. I told him that he's responsible for this as he is the one with the bad grades. Am I the a-hole for deleting his Fortnite account? Now for some comments. You're the a-hole. Deleting an account is a permanent punishment for something that is ultimately very fixable. It would have made more sense to change the password and only give it to him when his grades improved. Apologize to him and email customer support to see if you can get it reinstated. As a parent, you have a responsibility to make sure your child is healthy, happy, and reaching their full potential. Deleting the account was the lazy way out. Why would you take something away that you could use as an incentive? You were perfectly within your right to restrict access. There were lots of ways you could have done this. You have really hurt your son and probably lost any respect he had for you. You're the a-hole. There were so many other ways you could have handled this. Respectfully, he's effing 12. His grades might be a bit shit, but it's not a permanent thing by any stretch of imagination. My parents did the same thing to me when I was getting bad test scores in 7th grade and deleted my account on a creative collaborative writing site that I had to build up quite a sizable reputation in and used as a fun outlet after a hard day. After that, I very much resented them and my grades didn't even get much better for a few years. Help him, get a tutor, educate yourself so you can better help him, stop being an ass. And do not be surprised when he resents the hell out of you in years to come.